Welcome to the Helm Weekly Developer Meeting. It's August 19th, 2021, and we have just a few topics today. Reminder that the 3.7.0 release candidate is scheduled to come out August 30th, with the release we're hoping to get the release out September 8th, which means, of course, you should be, if you would like to, reviewing PRs in that milestone so we can get those out. And then one other quick announcement, because of changes to the downloads for old versions, we did update a FAQ entry. So if you're coming to this call because you have many concerns and questions about why you're getting some sort of tiller download error for Helm 2, first of all, you should upgrade to Helm 3. And also we updated the FAQ entry to cover that topic. Right, anyone have any other announcements before we move on to discussion items? Okay, our first discussion item, Itai, I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly.
Yeah, that's actually correct. Yeah.
Wonderful. Itai, welcome, and please talk to us about this include flag topic that you brought up.
Yeah, sure. So actually, I've been starting using Helm quite lately with our team. So what happens is that we're actually writing a Helm chart for the application we're deploying, and our application is actually a template of applications, and then we have the Helm chart for the template, and then for each application, then we have a Helm chart that uses the first Helm chart that actually as a dependency. So what we do is we want to provide the configurations for the application with the Helm chart, but we want the configuration to be in our repository. So we're able to run it. Locally. So what happens is that we have the configurations of the application in the top level directory of our repository, and then when we create the Helm chart, then we also have a duplicate of that directory in the charts directory, because we're unable to include the configurations from the top level directory. So because of that, our team will be very, very glad to have the flag that is able to include external files. So I believe the feature wasn't actually present in Helm so at this point, because it's actually a security vulnerability, because then you can install a Helm chart and it will reference a file that it's actually not really wanted to be in the chart. For example, it can reference etc passwd or something similar. So actually, in our case, we're okay with that, because we want to be able to externalize very specific files. For example, the directory of the configurations at the top level directory of the repository. So we're very encouraged to get progress with this feature, because we really want it. So I'm actually willing to work on this. I saw that the issue that was opened was actually it got very nice progress, but it wasn't merged eventually because there wasn't presented a rollback mechanism for it if I recall correctly. So as I said, I've never contributed to Helm, so I don't really know the internal architecture. So I'd be very glad to hear more about it and then understand what actually needs to be done. And then I'll be glad to go on with it and work on it. So that's it for now.
Thank you so much for that good summary. So looking at that pull request that someone else had in progress, I see what you're saying about how the person who was originally working on it, and I've dropped a link in the chat and it's also in the notes, hasn't come back and updated it. Are you saying that you want to adopt this pull request and kind of move it
Yeah,
forward?
sure,
And
definitely.
you're looking for
I just
guidance on how to
want the
contribute?
work to be done. Yeah, so
Mhm.
if nobody's working on it now, then I'll take it, definitely.
Yeah. We have some getting started as a contributor guidelines, but I think you're looking for something a little bit more tactical and specific here. Fisher, I know that you had looked at this at one point, but I would love to hear from any of the Helm maintainers. What should we recommend as a step to get this moving?
The first step I'd probably recommend is see if you can try and reach out to the original maintainer or the original contributor who's planning on implementing this. Because we've had people who have come back and who have been interested in that, and I wouldn't want to be stepping on other people's toes in some ways. So the previous or the original author of that still has expressed interest in, like, the last comment that he laid in there was, I've expressed interest in getting this into the next milestone. So if they're still interested in that, I would just reach out to them and see what kind of their timeline is for that. If that doesn't match with your timelines, then we could definitely take a look at adopting that, or taking a look at submitting an alternative pull request with that along with it. As far as your question with regards to Helm's architecture,
Wait, actually, can I answer the first question? Because I've already sent him an email and he hasn't answered that. So is there another way that I can try to contact him? Maybe, like, how do usually people here do this? Because the fact is that I don't know this guy, and if I send him an email and he didn't answer it, so I don't really know how to reach him above that.
yeah, I think that's really the best response there, is trying to find them in the usual contact areas, which is email, Slack, Twitter, any of those means of communication. If they're not responding, then they're not responding. But yeah.
So how much time do we need to give this actually before, like, we can start working on this ourselves? Because I don't want to wait for him too long, you know.
I think it's fair to start working on something. And if they come back and they're saying, hey, I actually was working on something in the background, that we can kind of work through that and have that conversation. But that's more of like kind of courtesy of figuring out he's the original author. He's worked on this. He's put in a lot of time and invested in it. So if he wants to continue the work and he wants to get credit for that, then I think that's,
sure.
I think it's fair for everyone involved that if he's the original author, he should take credit for the work.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not sure if this is the way to go or not, but could he check out the commits that are already existing and then open a new pull request with commits on top of that? I'm not sure how it works with merging.
Yeah, that's actually
code that was already submitted. Like without his, well, I guess it wouldn't be any different than if we were to accept the pull request and merge it. Okay, as long as the DOC is okay. Yeah, so that'd be another option, is you could check out his commits locally and then commit on top of that, and then submit a pull request including his commits if you wanted to.
Okay, cool. Can we talk though about the, like, what actually needs to be done? Because I don't really understand this, because if I understand correctly, then when Helm installs a new release, then it writes its configurations to the cluster as a secret or as a config map, if I remember correctly. So why do we need to present a specific rollback implementation here? So I'll be glad to hear a bit more about that.
Well, when a chart is packaged up and sent for deployment, it's going to have a snapshot of it. So it's not going to reference any local files. So that's when you could get into trouble with doing a rollback. because when you generate the templates again, locally for sending up the manifests, unless you have that same configuration, the configuration is going to change. If the local file is different, then it will actually remove that configuration in an update or I'm just catching up on the issue. Another thing to think about too is security, because you're breaking out of the chart directory. So that's potential for injection into the chart if it's packaged up.
Yeah, so actually I understand both of the points that you stated. I'll refer first to the second one. So as I explained, in our case, we're actually very okay with that because we know we have a very specific use case and we actually do want to be able to use the external files. So we're willing to take the chance that maybe someone can exploit this feature to inject malicious files or something like that. We're actually fine with it because the security matter isn't very important in our case. So that's the first thing. And the second one.
Wait, can I interject for a
let's
second
touch on
and
that.
say,
Sure.
even if the security is not important to one particular person, we can't just make all of Helm vulnerable. Like, because not every person would think about the nuances you're thinking about. Adam, you
So-
probably had something to add there, but I was like, ooh, I have to say something.
Yeah,
but
it's
isn't
the
it
same
solved
that you were going to say.
by
It's,
documenting this? Like, this is a feature that you will want to use very carefully. But sometimes you actually have to use this because what we do isn't good. Yeah, we're duplicating our configurations and it's not something that we want to do. Like, I see it more as a bug that this feature doesn't exist because then I need to duplicate my configurations, which is bad.
well, that wouldn't be a bug. That would be a feature add. A bug is expected behavior that or intended behavior that does not work as expected. So this would definitely be a feature. It's not a bug. I'm still catching up on reading through this real quick.
Yeah, sure. Regarding the first point you stated, though, you said that when doing rollbacks, then the configuration of the release is written to the cluster. But if I understand correct, then what will happen is that when you install the chart using the when you will install the chart and pass the flag for using the external files, then the content of the external file will be written with the manifests, right? So if I understand correct, then it should actually be good with rollbacks.
Yeah, that's correct. I think I was actually meaning updates. But you're correct. For rollback, it's all going to be there. So rollback should still work.
So I don't really understand what actually needs to be done here about that.
It was more of a hypothetical question of asking what is the scenario around all this, and it was asking for clarification. It wasn't asking for can you please address this? It was more of, can you please describe the behavior of what happens during an upgrade and then you roll back? Is it expected or is it not? So that was asking questions of clarification, and until that was answered, we couldn't reasonably say we could handle that case.
Okay, I see. So is this like something that's more solvable by documenting the behavior instead of actually implementing more code?
Yeah, covering it with the test case or figuring it out with documentation would cover the scenario perfectly.
I see. So actually we're fine with the fact that when you install the chart using the flag, then it will just write the content of the file that was actually given during that point. And then if you roll back, then it will be rolled back to what the file was when the person installed the chart, right?
Yeah, I think it just it's a matter of testing that and seeing if that's expected.
Okay, yeah, because that's actually the behavior that I'm expecting to have when I use this flag. So, okay, cool. Then if I understand correct, then I just need to document the behavior, write a test for it, and then it's good to go. Okay, cool. Thanks. So that was it for me, I guess.
Awesome. I hope that that helps. And I hope that you understand that it's not that we want to say no to stuff. It's that we know lots of people aren't going to consider the use cases the exact same way you do.
No,
We
of
don't
course,
want,
of
we don't want to
course.
trap them in a problem that will surprise them badly.
No, of course, of course.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for bringing this to us
Thank
for
you,
discussion.
thank you.
And we look
Thank you.
forward to seeing your progress on adopting some of these commits and getting a new pull request in, if that's the route you decide to go.
Yeah, so I'll try to contact him ASAP, the author of the pull request. And I thank you back. I thank you back for giving this time and talking about it.
Awesome. Thanks.
It helped me a lot. Thanks.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. We're excited to see contributions from you. Okay, so I did put one other item on the agenda being because we had been discussing a little bit the progress on the OCI support. And I was really happy to see that a recent comment from Fisher on that issue was mentioning that there were a few things that needed to happen, and then maybe we could move forward with that one. I know that most of the participants are not actually on the call, but Fisher, do you want to kind of summarize your thinking on it for where we're at?
Yeah, so Butcher was reviewing a bunch of Helm pull requests yesterday, and this was one of them just at the last minute. Adam, Butcher, and I have all kind of reviewed that pull request in detail in terms of like stylistic changes and taking a look at just how it could be trying to figure out the backwards compatibility concerns with that one. So the only things in there that have been removed are all like in public packages is things that are in the CMD directory, which is all internal. So it's not publicly available. The actions and everything else is completely available. He's only changed a couple of things here and there stylistically. So on terms of public packages, nothing's changed. Internally though, with things like the actual Helm commands, those have changed a little bit, I think. No, actually, those were just moved into the internal packages. So those should be fine. It's just more of there was one concern where he was trying to work around an issue around saving charts. And with OCI, there was some issues around that with like the temp charts directory, which another pull request fixes. So I think if we address that one, which I've done in another pull request. So if we merge that and then we go and remove the changes that he made inside of that pull request, I think we should be safe to merge that, because the only behavioral changes that'll be happening in that pull request then will be things to experiments or things to experimental APIs. I don't think we might want to do one more quick check just to make sure, but I think the public facing stuff has all been addressed, which is fine.
That's great. If we can get this in. Adam?
Yeah, Fisher, if you want to pair on that again, might be good for double eyes on that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the last thing I'd want to do is someone using the Helm v3 SDK and some kind of behavioral change breaks them in some way or form. So yeah, having a last set of eyes on that one before we merge would be a great idea. Because it is so huge.
Yeah, it is huge. I know we had talked about pushing this one to 3.8. Are you thinking that this might actually be able to be merged before the August 30th RC for 3.7?
I think so.
I'm
just shrugging my shoulders all day today. So yeah.
That would be great if we can get that in. That's a lot of pending change that we can remove.
Yeah, it's really pending on Josh, who's not on the call right now, because there is some action that he has to take on his end. So pending on his schedule, that's really kind of the blocker here.
I'm going to reach out to him immediately after this call. Okay, and I think the one other thing is, because we, of course, are in the dog days of August, we have people in and out constantly. Thank you, Corinna, for volunteering for notes next time, and Madam Adam for moderator Adam. Do we have a triage offering for next week? We will attempt to sort that out as well. And does anyone have any other topics they would like addressed?
If I still have time,
Yeah, of course. We have
would
7
like
minutes.
I have one pull request that I already talked with Fisher, and I can send this to the chat. So the thing is, this pull request is already more or less reviewed, but I would like to know what will be the next step in terms of trying to move to the next release. I have some talks with Fisher in terms of GitHub comments. I think I already addressed all the questions, and I'm just a little bit stuck in terms of what will be the next step.
Yeah, I think honestly, so because this pull request, I'm just pulling it up again. It does make a couple of like good changes in there, especially with how we're handling SIG-term, but because it's so large, it does change a couple of different APIs in there. So it's good to get another core maintainer to go and review this. So I would suggest going to try and find one of the core maintainers on the Helm dev Slack channels. Just try and reach out to them and see if anyone's available. Like we all have day jobs, so it's hard to find some people sometimes to go and review these pull requests, especially kind of dedicating that amount of time to go and review these larger ones. But that would honestly be the best course of action for you, is trying to find a core maintainer who is willing to take the time to look into this one. Okay,
because I already post this pull request in the Helm dev channel. No one's answers. Even I think one time I even tagged Matt Farina. He didn't reply, so I just a little bit lost. How I don't want to go chasing everyone in the list of contributors, but for that reason I came here to try to understand how I could get more attention.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Bridget. Actually, I've talked too much.
Oh, I was just going to say, I really appreciate you coming to the call. And as I'm sure you noticed by the fact that we keep saying so-and-so's not on the call today, so-and-so's not on the call today, you're catching us right at everyone's off on holiday time. So it's very hard to say, we'll definitely have someone, you know how it is. But thank you. I mean, we are noting this in the, meeting notes, and I would have to, this would be kind of an Adam or Fisher question. Is this far enough along to try to put it in a milestone, or maybe when we make the next milestone? What are you, in terms of milestone ability, where do you think we're at with this one?
It depends on if we can find another core maintainer to go review this, honestly.
Okay. So if we can.
You kind of pointed it out rightly that this is summer vacation, and that's like the RC ends right when everyone's kind of leaving or coming back from summer vacation. So I think it's a timing thing for this at the moment. But at the same time, I think we're far enough along into it that we can start taking a look at getting this into a milestone for sure. So we could throw this on the 3.7 or even the 3.8 milestone, and then see if we can get someone to go and review those before we merge in. I know that we have a lot already on the plate for Helm 3.7.0, so throwing on another one might be a little bit more difficult to kind of get on there, but at the very least we can throw it on, and worst case scenario we'll just move it over to 3.8. So
No
And
executive
I'm
decision.
completely fine to throw to 3.8 because I already see that you already have the RC plan for 3.7 and doesn't make sense to push it to 3.7.
Well, we haven't
I-
cut the
I
RC
can
for
wait
3.7
for
yet.
3.8.
I made the executive decision. I dropped your, PR onto the 3.7 milestone. That's not a commitment, but it's at least in the 3.7 milestone now. So
Okay.
if we end up pushing it to a later one, then at least we can find it to put it to the later one. There. Progress. Okay. Is there anything else we should talk about that?
No.
Awesome. Well, we've got you in a milestone, so we will see. All right. Does anyone have anything else? All right. Thank you all so much. We will chat with you all next week. Take care.